I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mrs. Ford, would you call the roll, please?
Chairman Wingate,
Here.
Vice Chairman McClendon,
Here.
Dr. Highlander,
Here.
Mrs. Hill, here. Mrs. Jones, Mr. Perez,
Here.
Mrs. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mrs. Thurman,
Here.
Ms. Tidmore,
Here.
Superintendent Dr. Johnson.
Here.
All right, we do not have any amendments to add tonight. We do, however, need to add a delegation, Miss Jeanette O'Markale. We will add her, if you would please, after Roman numeral number 4. So after our pledge and meditation, we'll have delegations. All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Mrs. Ford.
Dr. Highlander,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill, yes. Mr. McClendon,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Chairman Wingate.
Yes. We'll now have our pledge and meditation led by Miss Andrea Johnson, principal of Lakeside Academy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start with the meditation. I'm Andrea Johnson, and I'm the principal of Lakeside Academy of Math, Science, and Technology. The poem that I'm going to read is very short. It's called 1,000 to 1. There's 1,000 can't-be-doners for the one who says it can, but the whole amount of deeds that count is done by the latter clan. For the can't-be-doners grumble and hamper, oppose, and doubt, while the daring man who says it can proceeds to work it out. There isn't a new invention beneath the shining sun that has ever wrought by the deed or thought of the tribe of can't be done. For the can't be doners mutter while the can be's cool sublime. Make their notions work till the others smirk. Oh, we knew it all the time. Oh, the can be's clan is meager. Its membership is small, and it's mighty few who see their dreams come true or hear fame's trumpet call. But it's better to be a can be and labor and dream and die than one who runs with the can't be dones who haven't the pluck to try. Reflecting over this poem, I couldn't help but think how grateful I am to be a part of the Can Be Clan. HCS administrators, teachers, students, parents, central office staff, and the school board have all joined the Can Be Clan. During this pandemic, others have told us what can't be done, but we've shown them how it can be done. We've made some mistakes, but we've learned from them and fixed them. We've persevered. Oh, how proud I am to be a part of a school district that says we can. At this time, if you all would stand for the pledge. Let's salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You all may be seated.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson, for that. That will bring us to our delegations. We will have Miss Jeanette O'Markale. Mr. McClendon.
Thank you for your interest in addressing the Hamilton County Board of Education. During your presentation, please address the board as a whole, not individual board members or administrators. Also, do not present complaints or concerns you have about an individual employee of the school system. If you wish to voice those complaints or concerns, you should contact central office and ask for a meeting with the superintendent. If you are criticizing an individual employee, I will interrupt you and ask you to refrain. If you continue to criticize an individual employee, or if your remarks are in error or becoming repetitive, I may interrupt you and ask you to sit down. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. I will tell you when you have 1 minute left. You may begin when you are ready.
Good evening, School Board, Chairman Wingate, Dr. Johnson, and staff. Dr. Johnson, I'll try not to walk off with anything on here, but if it's worth anything, it might disappear. But first, I want to extend my appreciation to the board for the calendar adjustments that you approved in the September meeting. In essence, the revisions proposed by Dr. Johnson and sanctioned by this board demonstrated true empathy for each and every individual laboring to maintain excellence for our students in our system. With that one vote, this board sent a message to every individual who has consistently arrived 30 or 45 minutes early and stayed 30 or 45 minutes later to monitor student safety. You said thank you to those who have lost planning time to cover a class or complete a training module. This body said, we understand you have worked countless hours in the spirit of the greater good, and yes, we do value those sacrifices. On behalf of those who have been most flexible in accommodating the extra time, the extra efforts, the extra accommodations for a pandemic, let me re-emphasize your flexibility with the calendar, acknowledge the extent of your devotion to our kids. For that, I sincerely say thank you. And next, I want to say thank you to Dr. Johnson and his staff for stepping up and finding a way and a means to furnish not only the technology essential to Hamilton County classrooms and students, but to also provide coverage for those devices. Though to some the amount saved by the employee may seem inconsequential, like a pebble thrown into the lake, Dr. Johnson and his staff's efforts have resulted in a ripple effect towards supporting the morale of those who struggle and are frustrated with the loss of their step raise. Once more, I say to Dr. Johnson and his staff, thank you. My last item is one I hope the board will also support. HCEA is partnering with Chattanooga Votes and Vote Early Tennessee to promote 2 days of early voting. Saturday, October 17th is being promoted as Educator Day, and Tuesday, October 20th is Teacher Tuesday. Get out and vote. Therefore, we ask the board to get on board by encouraging everyone serving Hamilton County schools to exercise their right to vote and to especially consider voting with us on Educator Day, October 17th, or on Tuesday, Teacher Tuesday, October 20th. As always, I continue to look forward to working with this team toward our common goals, and I thank you for the opportunity to address the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Markell. Next, we'll have an award presentation by Dr. Dale Lynch of the Tennessee Organization of School Superintendents.
I'm not going to hold this very long because I'm going to present this up front to your superintendent or your director of schools. But I'm going to set it down for just a second. And I want to say what a great honor it is to be with you here this evening. I'm Dale Lynch, director of school. Excuse me. Whoa, that takes me way back there. Whoa. I've done that before. About 20 years I did that. I'm the executive director of TOS and have been with TOS now for a little over 3 years. Served as director of schools for Hamilton County for almost 20 years. I will tell you that in my years of being a superintendent or director, and in my years now working with 145 superintendents or directors in Tennessee, never have I seen the difficulty and the challenges that superintendents and directors face and the boards of education face right now in the midst of COVID. So on behalf of our association, I first want to thank you as school board members. Leadership is something that's very important when it comes to a crisis like we have been in. So thank you. On behalf of our association, it was a few months ago that I Zoomed in with you all, and I think I heard you all say, you'll be back, you'll be back. You were correct. We had 8 fine regional superintendents of the year, very fine superintendents of the year. But I must tell you, again, and I don't say this lightly. Honestly, this is coming straight from the heart, and I'm going to look at every single board member because I've been doing this work for over 30 years, and sitting up there where he did for 20. And I told people, and I have goosebumps going down my spine right now, I could tell from your Zoom meeting as Board of Education members the true respect and true love that you have for your superintendent. And I will tell you that boys and girls in Hamilton County benefit because of the team and the leadership that you have. So kudos to you for recognizing what a great leader that you have here. So I want to say thank you, and I think our Board of Education, your Board of Education, deserves a round of applause. Congratulations to you. As a superintendent director, we certainly know, and Dr. Johnson is always the first to say he can't do it by himself. It takes a great team. People want to work for a great leader like Dr. Johnson. So Dr. Johnson, first, I come because I didn't get to present this in person. This is the Regional Superintendent of the Year Award, which was, if you stand right there in front, yeah, come on around here, right there in front, because I'm going to come up there in just a second, okay? Come on around there. And he was, you know, the way that this happens, and I think I shared this with you on the Zoom, is that there's probably not another award that's more important than one receives and to be recognized by their peers. And a lot of times, if you're a large school district, sometimes maybe more rural districts say I just say it doesn't happen very often. Dr. Johnson is one of us, 145. So Dr. Johnson, on behalf of the superintendents that recommended you, that recognized you as their Regional Superintendent of the Year, congratulations and thank you. And then I'm going to move on past this little plaque, and then I'm going to move on to a bigger plaque. And this bigger plaque says that he's not just your Superintendent of the Year. This plaque and this Stanley Cup trophy that I'm going to bring up here in a minute, along with this check, says on behalf of the million school students that we have in Tennessee, you are Hamilton County Superintendent of the Year, you're the Southeast Superintendent of the Year, but you're Tennessee's Superintendent of the Year. And I would not be a bit surprised if you do not win SSA National Superintendent of the Year. So I would say congratulations, job well done, good job team. I've got my phone out because I want a picture, so if you don't care, can you hold that for just 1 second?
Yes.
Well, this says Dr. Brian Johnson. Well, I'll let him say what it is. Hey, congratulations. Yes. Appreciation. Congratulations. Can somebody take a picture for me?
Yeah, I will.
Oh, thank
You'll
you.
get up there beside it.
Yes, I'm going to do that. We're 6 feet. We're 6 feet.
You can. That's not good.
6 feet away.
I mean, you already got the prize, so.
As long as you don't kiss him, you're okay.
I won't kiss anybody.
Just don't kiss him. You're
There
good.
you go.
I'll be in trouble.
Smile big.
Yeah. Look here.
Here, come right here,
Look over this way, Jim. We have
Congratulations.
the
Get him,
paparazzi
get him,
over
come on,
here.
get him. Before I leave, I sincerely, I want you to know this was not a speech that I had written down. Again, in my years, I could tell the affection and true the true respect that you have for your leaders. So thank you all again. Thank you for allowing me to be here, Dr. Johnson. I'm proud of you. Thank you. Proud of you.
Dale, I appreciate Dale coming down and talking to me available. If you all remember, it seemed like maybe 15 years ago when I started. But there are many days as a superintendent, it really doesn't matter how long you've done it, but in particular for myself, as a young superintendent coming in, that I've always looked and still do for those that have been in the field doing the work for a long time. Dale's always been one of those guys. And I called Dale and asked him a question about something going on legislatively, something that's day to day, and Dale always makes something available, so Dale really appreciate you and all the talk does. You really nailed it. I tell people all the time, I've got a wonderful school, and I'm blessed to have you all as bosses, and I embrace you all as my boss, and I appreciate you all trusting us as an administrative team to serve children, and thank you for doing that. I would be remiss to also not mention that I work with a great group of folks that are much more talented than I. I never have. I was telling somebody today that my job is to find great talent. I believe it, and to hire people that are more talented than I am. And I'm very fortunate to work on a team with people that are much more talented than I am. I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm not ashamed to say it, that I work alongside people that are much more talented than I am. And that goes all the way down to the schoolhouse. Our teachers in the classroom will say it redundantly. I know you hear it over and over, but our teachers in the classroom do a phenomenal job. So this accomplishment, Dale, is really a testament to the work of this entire board, work that's going on for a long time. I'm a beneficiary of the folks that saw vision and already established many things, and we're very, very fortunate. So
Thank you for letting me be here. Congratulations, you all. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Dr. Lynch, I don't know if you have any dealings with the national award at all, but you'll be back here.
I'll send them a message. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll just start off. I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything, but I can distinctly remember my first year here on the board, and you know, as we were going through the search process, and I distinctly remember talking to the head of our search firm and knowing that we only had about 3 candidates with 3 weeks to go in what we had established as a deadline to be beginning the process of interviewing. And I was extremely discouraged. And Dr. Johnson, we're thankful. I am that you're here. If you had told me 3 years ago this is where we would be, I would not have believed it. And it is the work of many people. But I told him when he came after accepting the job that I believed that this school system was a diamond in the rough, and I believed that there was the sky was the limit. I hate using cliches, but they're accurate here. For this school system, and what it needed was someone to get everybody going in the same direction, and extremely talented educators, a community that was yearning for the public school system to excel. And I know all of us would say that we're not where we would want to be yet, but we've gotten a pretty good ways down the road, and I'm excited about that. And as I've said many times before, I like to win, and today we're winning. So thank you for what you've done. We've got one other, yeah, Dr. Johnson.
Sure, just one more thing. I don't know that my wife is even watching this, but I want it on the record. I got to go home. Let me say this. Anybody, and y'all know this too, I'm blessed to have a better half that's much better than I am. And no matter if it's a community meeting late at night or a football game that I'll go to tonight, she's accepting and works with me no matter what I ask. And so I'm just ever so grateful for having a helpmeet that works alongside me. So I just want that to be known. My name is there a lot of times on things, but she's much better than I am. So I just want to get that on the record.
And as we thought about how best to commemorate this, just the coach and me, and in the spirit of winning, I'd like nothing better than to hang more banners from the rafters in this room. And I've always been encouraged and pleased by the student work that we hang here, so I'm looking forward to some more of that, hopefully before too long. But we're going to hang this banner too. All right. All right, that brings us to our next exemplar of excellence recognition. We want to celebrate educator Kristen Burris. So, Dr. Parker.
Well, actually, in the spirit of celebration, we're going to celebrate two great accomplishments right now. So Dr. Rich, Sonia Rich, if you'll come on up. Chairman Wingate, Superintendent Dr. Johnson, and members of the board. At this time, we would like to celebrate two wonderful achievements. First of all, we would like to recognize Dr. Sonia Rich and the team that works at Collegiate High School. It's an honor to recognize the school for being a National Blue Ribbon School of Excellence for the 2020 school year. And Collegiate High was one of 7 schools in Tennessee to earn the honor as one of the nation's exemplary high schools. And if that wasn't enough, they were also just recognized as the Path to College School designation. They just earned that designation in addition to being a National Blue Ribbon School of Excellence. So congratulations, Dr. Rich, for your leadership and the work at Collegiate High. Thank you. It's very hard work to earn that acknowledgement, number one. So we celebrate the educators and the families and students there along with you. Thank you. Yeah, Macy was sharing with us that she has class tomorrow and she's got a lot of work ahead of her next week. But thank you so much. It's also a great honor tonight to recognize Miss Kristen Burris. Kristen is an educator at the STEM School of Chattanooga, and she was recently named the winner of the first Technology Excellent Award for being the Unsung Hero of the Year by Chattanooga's Technology Council. This award recognizes regional organizations and companies for outstanding involvement, achievement, and accomplishments in the technology community of Greater Chattanooga. So, Kristen, thank you for what you do. You are an HCS hero, and we appreciate what you've done to really move science, technology, engineering, and mathematics along for students. You probably will see her name again as well. Just Google her. She's got all kinds, and she teaches our children in Hamilton County. What an honor. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for what you've done for our kids. Congratulations for this great honor, Kristen.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right. We'll now have a Future Ready update. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mrs. Robinson.
I just want to make a comment real quick. It was an honor to be able to recognize to the schools in District 4, but I wanted to point out that if you haven't toured either the STEM school or Collegiate High, please let me know if you want to take time to go on a tour. They're both very outstanding programs and really are gems within our county that so many people are not aware of. So I've just been blown away every time I take a tour of either school and meet the students. They're really fascinating. So.
All right, Dr. Robertson.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Wingate. So take a few minutes to go through some highlights of operations this year and talk a little bit about where we are with facilities and then our plans moving forward. Of course, everything that we're doing in Hamilton County is trying to become the best school district in Tennessee. Our Future Ready 2023 plan charges the operations department with basically being efficient and effective. Here are four key strategies. Tonight, we're going to focus on the second and the fourth, the long-term plan for facilities, and then optimizing our budget and resource utilization. So some highlights from the past school year and look at our KPIs for operations. I'm going to pay more attention to the slide on the right. The slide on the left is updated with just some kind of facts and figures about where we are with operations in Hamilton County, but the slide on the right has some of our accomplishments. And for operations, especially the end of the year, was a really difficult time. Trying to figure out food services, trying to get school-age childcare up and running, working with our buses, custodial services, but a lot of positive things came out of it. The second bullet I really want to highlight is during the COVID closure, so from May through the summer, food services served over 1.2 million meals to our community. And that's a pretty magnificent feat when you think about how many people that takes and the impact that it had on our community. A lot of foresight in our IT department to get wireless access points in elementary schools installed and updated. That's going to really prepare us for where we're moving with 1-to-1 in elementary by the end of October, and 3 through 5 will be 1-to-1. And also, a key point is that there at the bottom, given everything that happened at East Brainerd Elementary, sitting here today to be able to say that project is on schedule for a January 2021 opening is a pretty tremendous feat. In terms of our key performance indicators, so over to the right, we'll kind of show you where we were at the final of the 2020 school year. You'll notice in transportation that we didn't quite hit our KPIs, but I put in there where we are year to date. So when you talk about total miles between incidents, we were off by about 7,000 miles last year. Right now, from August to where we are today, we're trending closer to 74,000 miles, which is a huge improvement. You can see our on-time arrivals is up by over 5% to start this school year. Not quite where we want it to be, but huge improvement from where we were. School nutrition, again, from where we were last year, just struggled with the closure, didn't quite hit our breakfast or our lunch KPI. I'll be honest with you, I don't think we're going to hit it again this year. We just have less kids that are eating in the cafeteria, and I think that's a choice that a lot of our families are making just because of their personal preference. I don't think it has anything to do with the quality of our food services or the leadership within that department. I think it's just kind of where we are. You look at maintenance and IT, huge improvements there in terms of responding to work orders and getting those numbers down to a manageable number. And of course, you notice I didn't put anything on maintenance. That's something we'll talk about moving forward. Spent some time already with custodial services. These are the highlights that ABM already pointed out, and I won't spend time on this slide, but I do want to spend a little bit of time on where we are with the current RFP. So we released an RFP on Friday that we hope to bring back to you a recommendation in January or February for custodial services to start June 1st. All right, so that RFP just went out. Had a couple of people already reach out with some questions. We'll have some guidance sessions available. A couple of things I want to point out that are different from the previous one. In this one, we are allowing companies to bid on specific learning communities, so they don't have to bid on the entire 7.5 million square feet. If they wanted to just bid on North River, they could just bid on North River. We're also revising the rubric that puts some subcontracting guidance in there to work with our minority and small local businesses that will put some weight on that in terms of how we score the proposals that we get from those companies. I really am excited, though, to see if by breaking up by learning communities, if we get some more local businesses that respond to it. And again, we'll move through that and bring a recommendation in January or February of 2021 for that new contract to start June 1st. So the next key few slides want to really focus on optimizing our budget and our resources. So you kind of know we've been talking about our facilities plan. It's been about the last 15, 18 months really bearing down on this conversation. And wherever we want to put this number, we know that there's a large need. MGT projected the need somewhere around $900 million. And you can see some of the photos there. We've got some buildings that are, just not where they should be. Current facilities, again, just some facts for you. Our average building age is about 40 years. 29% of our buildings scored either poor or unsatisfactory when MGT came through and did their assessment. Our utilization, there's a huge range. So we've got some buildings that are at 51% capacity, and then some buildings that are 128. For some context, I took these from the MGT report, and if you'll remember in that report, they did not include any of our facilities that aren't permanent. So it's talking about specifically our permanent facilities. So that's why you see 128. Again, what we've spent in the past in terms of maintenance, we've averaged about 40 cents a square foot when our industry standard says it should be closer to $3. In terms of phase zero, we have a plan in place for phase zero, and I know that there were some difficult conversations and decisions that we had to make, or that you had to make as a school board in terms of what to do with phase zero. But to kind of show you some cost avoidance, by going ahead and approving the addition at Harrison at $2.1 million and deciding to move forward with the CSLA project at Lakeside, we're going to avoid about $12 million in deferred maintenance. And then when you looked at the projected cost on the initial recommendation from MGT, we're avoiding about $12 million. So in just phase zero, there's about $24 million because of those difficult decisions that we avoided in additional funding requests. So I really think that the big part of the conversation moving forward needs to be about establishing this long-term facilities plan. We have a ton of data, you have a ton of information. And when we move into what we do with phase one, we really need some guidance from the school board on how we move forward into phase one and how we move forward with this 10-year blueprint 2030, which all of us, I think, agree that we think every student deserves to be in a great learning environment. And for the next 10 years, we've got to really establish what we believe about facilities and how we want to move forward with this plan. MGT went through and did some listening sessions. I know a lot of you are familiar with the 2017 HCS Budget Working Group, but here's what we heard from the community, and here's what that working group said in terms of their values with facilities. So MGT, the community feedback, talk about equitable educational environments, academic excellence, high standards, addressing our deficiencies, retaining our magnet programs. That 2017 working group talked about reducing the number of schools, increasing our efficiency through building larger buildings, consolidating and rezoning some schools, and then developing a multi-year capital plan using agreed upon criteria. So as I started thinking about this, I kind of went back to school leadership, and those of you who've been on the board for a few years know that we've been training in McCrell's balanced leadership, and one of the tenets of balanced leadership is developing a purposeful community. And what a purposeful community, when it's functioning at a high level, there are some agreed upon processes and operating principles. And I've heard several of you over the past 6 months talk about, you're using vocabulary of saying, what are our values? What do we believe about buildings? This is essentially the same thing that operating principles are when we're talking about purposeful community with our school leadership. And I highlighted something here because I really thought that it rang true with where we are with our facilities. When we can get some agreed upon processes and operating principles in place, what it has the power to do is that when we're in a place where the status quo is not acceptable, it can provoke this community to action. And that's really where I think we are as a community, is that we need to be provoked to action to deal with our facility issues. So when we talk about what the purpose of operating principles are, here are a few key bullets from balanced leadership that I pulled out. It helps form the identity of our organization. It provides guidance for how individuals govern themselves, and for us as a facilities and maintenance crew, if we can get some operating principles nailed down, it will basically guide us in how we function day to day. It talks about how individuals within the organization will function. And one thing that I think is really key in this, we've pressed on this with schools, you've got operating principles whether they're implicit or explicit, whether they're written down or they're not. And when we write them down, it's really going to help us foster consistency and make us focus on our goals. So I took a stab to kind of put in your mind, and please understand these are my words. This is not what I'm saying the board needs to agree on or even think about. But when I was trying to come up with a couple of examples to put in your head what an operating principle might look like for facilities, here are a couple that I put down on paper. So if we wanted to say one of our operating principles is equitable consolidation and rezoning, and I took those words straight from those two groups that I mentioned previously. And a definition of what that might be is our decision-making process will be transparent and clearly communicated internally and with the community. We aim to reduce the number of schools in Hamilton County while working towards schools that reflect the racial and socioeconomic diversity within our community. Another one might be efficiency with excellence. And a definition for that would be we commit to efficiently utilizing our facilities with a focus on ensuring rigorous academic opportunities for students. School capacity will support optimal learning while also providing advanced educational programming in all buildings. When you think about operating principles, probably a good number is you're probably thinking about 4 to 5. And really, I hope what these two examples provide is how it would give us guidance as we're trying to prepare and move forward in our daily work, how we operate. But as a board, what it does is when you're having conversations about phase one that are really difficult, it allows you to lean back on these operating principles, and those conversations become a whole lot less difficult. I'll point out with this efficiency with excellence, we have a hard time in Hamilton County deciding what the right school size is. For high school, is it 750 or is it 1,500? And when you think about efficiency, obviously, probably way more efficient to run 1,500 than 750. When you also think about advanced educational opportunities, with the school with 700 high school kids, it's really difficult to offer a wide range of high-level courses. And so as we have these conversations, if we agreed that this was an operating principle, it would help us to have a much more effective and productive conversation about school size than us just saying, well, we don't want to have mega schools, or we don't like neighborhood schools, or we really want If it's efficiency with excellence, we've got something to really anchor that conversation in. So that brings to last slide, and then I'll turn it over to Tucker for a second, is we really have to get some common language about some things. That we throw words around in Hamilton County that mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. My favorite one is mega school. I still don't know what a mega school is. I think I know what people mean when they say it. When I was an assistant principal in Shelby County, I was in an elementary that had 1,000 kids. I didn't think it was a big school. It's just how, at that time, Shelby County had their elementary schools. And when I came here, I found out it was a mega school. We really need to define some of these things so that when we mention them, community school is another example. When you say community school to me, I think about Red Bank High School. A community school that has a hub, that has outside organizations coming in to support families. We've got some in Hickson now. We've got some in Soddy Daisy. That's what I think of when I say community schools. But you might think of a school that is actually in a small community that neighborhoods go to So we've really got to define some of these terms. Tucker, turn it over to you for this last slide, and then we'll take some questions.
Yeah, so our conversations that we've had really during phase 0 and going forward into phase 1 was really trying to lay out going into phase 1 and really defining those operating principles. So talking with Dr. Johnson and Dr. Robertson, this is kind of what we're thinking moving forward to do those operating principles and to move into our initial conversations with phase 1. And this will be, besides the first two, or the meeting and a half at the first, each phase will have 2 meetings and then a follow-up meeting, a joint meeting with the county commission, just to keep them in the loop and make sure everyone in the county is on the same page. But we think it's paramount to keep it as uniform across as we move through the MGT plan and our facilities plan, to have a clear, concise layout moving forward. Yeah, so it should January 2021 and February 2021.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. But yeah, so it would be end of this year, end of this month, November. December is crazy, so take that month off, move into January. But I mean, we really, in my opinion, it's a big topic. It's a big problem that we have to face, and we have to, I think, give it the time it deserves, and meeting monthly and trying to do that with respect to everyone's time. But it has to be something that we start to have serious conversations moving forward with.
Mr. Chairman, any questions or?
Anybody have a question?
So I have a personal concern, which is I have a new board member orientation on the 29th and 30th with TSBA, and this is important, especially for my district, because those operating principles have a very direct effect on my district. So how set in stone are we on October 29th?
I think that's a date that we just put down we really think there's, I think, 6 weeks between tonight and the next November board meeting. And so we're trying to find a date in between. I think it's the pleasure of the board to set that date. That was just one we thought was a good end of month.
Yeah, we were trying to split these next 6 weeks. So if that's something we need to move to, maybe that Tuesday before, then we can look at that.
Yeah, I would think, normally, I think Sherry kind of helps coordinate a date and time, so I think we can put something out and just kind of see what works for the majority of the board, but I think the thought was to get a date out there and see what we got.
Mrs. Hill?
I'm very pleased with this plan. Question, so there's 2 meetings per phase and a meeting with the county commission. Is the goal to work through multiple phases within the next 12 months? Or are we going to do phase 1 and pause?
Yeah, so just to be honest, we really haven't got that far going into phase 2. We've kind of just figured out, this is what we think will work through these phases. So I think it was important to lay out phase 1 and get to that. And then who knows what the world will look like in February and everything else. So I think it's just good to have a plan. And of course, like everything, we can come back and revisit, and make tweaks to anything that we need to. And if we need to take a 2 to 3 month break between kind of things, just so we can move forward and give Dr. Robertson, if we come and, codify something with phase 1 and can move forward with actually building schools and stuff, then maybe press pause and then let's get that work done, move into phase 2 when we see fit.
Thank you. The thoughtfulness of that cadence, I have great respect for. Also, the 2 operating principles that you've drafted with your team, Justin, I appreciate the detail within those, just giving us a framework or a scaffold from which to work as we consider the handful that are going to be guiding the work that we do. The thoughts that you have within them speak to me and they're the kind of school system and facilities plan that I would like to see Hamilton County have. So I'm very pleased with the direction this is headed and looking forward to working with all of you to build it out. It's exciting work.
We have any other questions there for Dr. Robertson? All right. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Mr. McClendon, for working with him also. All right. That brings us to our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Did you get those, Ms. Ford? Do we have any items we'd like to take a look at? Okay. All right, Ms. Ford.
Dr. Highlander.
Yes.
Mrs. Hill.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones. Mr. McClendon.
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman.
Yes.
Chairman Wingate.
Yes. All right, then. That brings us down to administrative business matters. We have 3 items there that we would need to approve. The first would be our educators recommended for tenure for the 2021 school year. Do I have a motion to approve that item?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, Mrs. Ford?
Dr. Highlander.
Yes.
Mrs. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. McClendon.
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman.
Yes.
Chairman Wingate.
Yes. The next item would be our educators recommended for reinstatement of tenure for the 2021 school year. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, do we have any discussion?
I just
Go
want to
ahead,
make
Ms.
sure
Thurman.
we get the, clarify for people, this is not people who have been like fired and we're reinstating them. I just want the public to understand what we're doing here. Just some clarification
Well,
for the public.
Ms. Murray, will you just give us a quick explanation there?
Sure. So these individuals previously worked for us and returned and successfully completed, their 2 years, and so they're being reinstated their tenure.
Just want the
successful
public to
performance.
understand that.
Yes.
I get questions about that, so, what do these people do? Well, that they lost their tenure, so I just want to make sure people understand. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, Mrs. Ford?
Dr. Highlander.
Yes.
Mrs. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. McClendon.
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman.
Yes.
Chairman Wingate.
Yes. Last item there would be the classified pay during our calendar adjustments previously voted on for the 2021 school year. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Okay, Mrs. Ford?
Dr. Highlander.
Yes.
Mrs. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. McClendon.
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman.
Yes.
Chairman Wingate.
Yes. All right, next, under board matters, there we have the superintendent's evaluation discussion. You have should have before you, Dr. Johnson's self-evaluation for the 1920 school year. And in conversation, Dr. Johnson and I have, and you guys, as we talked about this on Monday, talk about what the evaluation process would look like for this very unique year. My recommendation, and again, I am open to the will of the board, obviously, but my recommendation is as we look at the instrument that we have used the past 2 years, because of the lack of metrics that have made up 30% of his evaluation, student achievement metrics, is that we use the 70% of the evaluation. You will see, I'm not certain what page it's on in this large document, but you will see benchmark scores that are made available to you. So that was through the third quarter, so all the benchmark testing was completed last year. Any questions or comments or suggestions around the evaluation process for this year? And this is a very thick document. If I know you all have just gotten that, and obviously we can have some other discussion about that too. But any thoughts around just kind of the evaluation instrument? Dr. Highlander, I see your cup out there.
Thank you. You know, as I said in our planning session, agenda session Monday, I really don't think it's fair to evaluate him. I agree with you 100%. The 70% should be transposed to 100%. That's the way we should do it. It's not fair for him or the teachers this year for them to be evaluated on student progress. As our state commissioner said, that we're looking at drastically lower scores across the state because the kids not being in school. And so I agree with you, Chairman, Mr. Chairman, that we just drop that for this, and I hope the state will drop it for our teachers as well, because it's totally unfair to do that. He's done a good job. I think we need to just do it on the 70% that we've evaluated, make that 100% for this 1 year, and then go back to the original plan.
Any other discussion, questions about the evaluation process? Mrs. Hill.
Given the possibilities that the state may change the way that it does assessments for this year, might we put a note on the calendar to reevaluate or talk with Brian about what our evaluation tool will be for the following year, like to Dr. Highlander's point that those scores may not be there again. I'm not sure the timing, contract-wise, of when would be appropriate to plan for next year, but
Yep.
something like that.
Well, and that's a good point, and we've, this document changed from the first year to the second year, and I think what we need to make sure that we maintain the integrity of working towards those targets, you know. But outside of that, Dr. Johnson, I see your light is on, but.
No, I just want to, a point of clarity. I think it's page 25 of the document, where we kind of landed was to I think Dr. Helen's point in regards to accountability not coming into play last year, being consistent in that regard, but also, you know, we think it's important to, for lack of a better way of saying it, publicly report our progress. Although there may not be accountability, we still are accountable to moving students forward, right? So I don't know where the state will land in regards to assessment. If you ask me today, you know, I would anticipate every indication we get from everybody from the governor to the commissioners that there will be state assessment. The question is about accountability, because the assessment helps you make instructional decisions about what you need to do for students. So our goal here was to say, you know, essentially from an accountability standpoint, absolutely there was no TN ready. So there is, you know, it's created a challenge from that construct. But here's how our students are progressing based on the internal metrics that we have for public reporting purposes. So just pointing out page 25 is there for you all for that purpose.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Perez.
I'm just curious from a contractual standpoint, Mr. Bennett, where it lands us as a board to change the evaluation method through the process.
So with the agreement with Dr. Johnson, we can do whatever the board thinks is appropriate. So yes, our policy sets forth one set of standards, his contract sets forth another set of standards, but it's evolving, obviously, because a contractual relationship like this is a living, breathing relationship. So under these current circumstances, y'all can work this out, it's not a problem.
And along those lines, we had to do, Mr. Perez, something like this last year, not in terms of changing the instrument, but we had contractually agreed to an appointed time that we would evaluate our employee, and there were some delays in scores from the state, and we were not going to be able to meet that. And so it was a mutual agreement between the board and our employee last year to say, hey, we're going to need to back this up another month, I think, or maybe it was 6 weeks. It might have been longer than that, waiting on some of those scores to come back from the state.
And we actually did amend the contract itself to change the cycle, because we knew that those changes were going to be perpetual. So once upon a time, we had an evaluation cycle, July to June, and when the state changed its calendar, we knew that wasn't going to work. So we actually amended the contract so that, if we're all hit by buses, heaven forbid, someone else can come in and figure out what to do. Here, where it's more of an operational, what are we doing today? And it's an ad hoc decision. You don't actually need to amend the contract. It just goes to the instrument that you're going to use. So, there you go.
Thank you.
Any other discussion there? Ms. Thurman? Okay. I can't see you. Dr. Highlander signs blocking your table. All right. So if you all are agreeable to this, what I think I will do is, you should have, if you go back in your email, a copy of what we currently use. I don't mind sending another copy to you. And then what I will do is send you the copy that we would use this time, and I will remove the metrics from that last page, and then you all have it. Make sure everything lines up. I mean, I'll do that before I send it to you, I mean, I don't know. Is that Mr. Bennett? Is that going to be something we're going to need to vote on? Or is yeah? Okay. It's just going to be a while before we meet again. Yeah, okay. So I'll do that. I'll send last year's instrument. I'll send this one, again, minus the academic metrics, and we'll go from there. And in the meantime, if you have any questions regarding what you see here from the self-evaluation, obviously feel free to reach out. Mrs. Thurman?
Yeah, when's the deadline to get it back to you? Are we going to go ahead and fill them out?
I don't know. Let's, I tell you what, let Ms. Ford and I talk, and then when I send those to you, I'll send out, hey, please get this back by whatever date, okay? All right. Okay, a couple more things before we go. You have on your table, or you should have, I tried to lay that on everyone's table, our liaison assignments. Heard from a couple, 3 people about, what they would like to do. So I tried to accommodate all of those. If you still would like to talk about that, we can. But otherwise, if I didn't hear from you, as I said in my email, assumed that you were content to serve in the area that you'd previously served. So that is where we have landed. Ms. Thurman?
Make sure Mr. Perez knows that we all attend all meetings. Everybody attends everybody, not just the people who are on that committee, but everybody attends.
Well, you can.
You can.
You can. Yeah. So what we had previously, Mr. Perez, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we had committees, and we went to kind of a liaison to free that up, to just make a point person for these, whatever areas we determined we would like to be more heavily involved in. And as Ms. Thurman has said, typically we all end up showing up anyway, but we lean on that individual.
So we're all liaisons to all of them, is what you're saying?
Can be. It can be, yes. And I think I made note of that also, that absolutely encourage you, if you have some expertise, or experience in the area that you're not the liaison for, please serve also in that role. All right, so I guess be looking for some possible dates there for our facility, next facility meeting, and like to try to have another equity discussion between now and November, so we'll try to shoot for that. We'll send some dates out and just see what works for folks, okay? All right, we got any other announcements? Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're looking at me. Just real quick, you've got signs at your table. Jill and her team and several others. We had several people on there. You can see everybody that helped sponsor and chip in, and several folks from around the district went to schools, and every employee got a sign. And hopefully, as you go throughout the community, you'll see HCS Hero signs in the yards. But hope that all of our teachers and leaders and staff have a really good fall break, and students.
So I was going to add to that if I can.
Yes, sir.
Very briefly, but one, I don't feel like a hero, so thank you. But I did want to thank all of you because I know you're going off to fall break. Hopefully some of you are, and our teachers, and it's been a rough year. And thank you very much for the way that you've just doubled down and worked extra hard. And you are heroes, and we show up here and we take a sign home. So thank you very much. Thank you for your work.
All right, meeting adjourned.